Good morning, everybody. I trust that you are well. I thought it best to give you some feedback on Britannic Opportunities via this WhatsApp video as opposed to sending you an email. This is the monthly fact sheet that's available on Praxis's website. It comes out about 2 or 3 days after month end. You'll notice that this one is as at the 31st of May. The fact sheet as at end of June will be available from the 3rd or the 4th of July. You can, of course, monitor this share daily, either via Bloomberg. If you want to add it to your share portfolio, that's the ticker code that you can use to add the share. And the daily pricing is also available on Praxis's website. Just to quickly recap what this investment was about, we invested in pounds, and the index that this investment was linked to was the FTSE 100, in other words, the top 100 companies listed in the UK. And we got a digital return of 38. Just to recap, what that basically means is if the index is up 1 point, in other words 0.1%, in other words 6,824, 1 point up from where we started, we will definitely get the 38% in pounds. And of course, if it's down 10, 20, 50, doesn't matter what percentage is down, 100% of our capital in pounds we will get back. In other words, we have no downside risk, and on the upside, we basically, if the index doesn't do 38, we get a guaranteed 38. So if you compare this to investing in an ETF, if we've invested in the FTSE 100 ETF, we would have been up 12.53% now. Our investment will be worth 38% due to the fact that we've got a digital return. And also, even if the FTSE declines by 12.52%, we will still get the 38 because we will be up 0.1%. This is what the FTSE 100 has done. If we look at what this share has done, we need to look at how the market value of the share is determined. Before we do that, let's just have a look at what we paid for the share on the 7th of July 2014. We paid £1,000 per share. Of this £1,000, £747 was put on a deposit. If you remember, this was the sub-debt bond that we bought of Investec PLC. And this basically accrues interest over the 5-year time and will mature back at 1,000. So in other words, this is how our capital was guaranteed, is the portion of the par value of the share that was put on a deposit will accrue interest, which will mature back at 1,000. So 1,000 minus 747 is £253. So on day one, we had £253 per £1,000, which we paid per share, of which £172 was utilized to buy an equity option. The equity option was split between JP Morgan and BNP Paribas. So they are the provider of the 38% digital return that we've basically bought. If we look at the market value of 25.17%, you take the market value of the share now, which is the bond that accrued from 747 to 945. The equity option is now worth 291 as opposed to 172. There's still a bit of cash left in the bank. Remember, the provision for fees is placed in Britannic Opportunities bank account in Guernsey. So there's still about £15 per £1,000 in cash. So if you add those together, you get to the 1,251.66 less the 1,000 gives you 251.66. 251.66 divided by 1,000 is your 25.17%. So this will be the value in pounds on your Investec or Praxis statements. Just make sure that when you look at the Investec statements, you look at the hard currency values and not the rand values, as this won't reflect the 25%, as it will take currency fluctuations into account. Remember, when we invest in hard currency, we always measure the performance in hard currency. So 38% divided by 5 years is 7.6% per annum. And if you measure in a hard currency, this is in pounds, you always look at what is the inflation in the UK, which is currently sitting at about 1%. That gives us a real return of 6.6% per annum. If you compare that to what you would have got if you were invested in cash, which is about 0.5%, it means that you've done 6.1% better per annum than you would have had you remained invested in cash. That's it. Have a great day. Cheers. Bye.